What we're going to do here is after we have opened up Photoshop, we are going to make a width of 11, a height of 8.5, and 300 pixels per inch, and give it an appropriate name and hit create. But once you do that, I also want you to go to File, Save As, and save it right away. That way, if we run into problems, we will have something to come back to. And it crashes sometimes, and there's an autosave feature that will work in the background. And so now what we've got is we have, we go back to the website, and we click the pictures. And this is the picture I want you to download. So you click the three dots, and then you hit download all, and that is going to go down to downloads. And so I'm going to open up Photoshop, and then I'm going to get the folder that has the picture, and I'm just going to drag it on top. And I've inadvertently dragged the wrong thing. And so now I just get that one picture, and then there's a check mark up at the top, and I'm going to click that to accept it. And now I'm going to use my marquee tool. I'm going to use my rectangular marquee, and I am going to change the feather to 10 pixels. And what that does is it takes away our hard edge, and it rounds out the corners. And it blends it a little bit nicer. Now we're going to change our color. We can pick one if we wanted to. I'm going to add a layer here, and this is, so I've got my marquee tool. Let's change the color first. So gradient tool, click on that layer right there. I've made my box, and now I'm going to color it. But instead of using that color, I'm going to click the eyedropper, and I'm going to click on that one particular layer, and I want something closer to this. And so now if I click, it changes my foreground color to something that I use the eyedropper for. And now I'm going to click on layer 1 again, and now I'm going to paint that layer. And so that is one of the colors from the bottom layer. I'm going to give this layer an appropriate name. Top box. I'm going to click on that second layer, back up there. Use my marquee tool again, and now I'm going to make the boxes off to the side. I'm also going to make a separate layer for that. We could have put these all on one layer, but it gives us more control when we have more individual layers. So one of two. I would be able to access that marquee tool is for any of the layers, and so I make it, and then I click on one layer, and then I color it so it's just on that layer. And you can see off to the layer palette, you can see that there is that particular color on that one layer. Once again, I'm going to make another layer. I'm going to get the marquee tool, 2 of 2, and I'm going to make the box that overlaps with that particular box. So there's my marquee tool selected. Make another box, try to make it about the same size. Click on that layer, get my paint bucket. Now I've got 2 overlapping layers. I hit Command D or Control D in Windows to deselect. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the individual layers, and I'm going to change the opacity so that I can see through the layers. So just pay attention. I think that says around 80% for each layer. So overlapping layers, when you change the transparency on both of them, the fact that 2 of them are all one on top of each other, it's still going to be less opaque than if it was just an individual layer all by itself. And that's kind of by design. All right, so now I'm adjusting the opacity. And if these numbers are not exactly the same as mine, that's fine. It's whatever you think looks the best. All right, now I'm going to go to my shape tool. This turned out to be more work than I thought. Oh no, I'm doing the text tool. So I go up top, I make a box where I want my text to be. And it puts up some default lettering. And so you're going to have to delete that. So right now I'm trying to choose the color. And so up top there you can see there's a white. And so that's what I want. It's going to stand out. I'm going to say left tours. All right, and that's an aerial. Once again, this text does not have to be the same as in the example. So these are different selections. All right. Make the box the appropriate size. Make it too small, it's going to cut the letters out. All right, back to Lift Tours. I hit Command T or Control T in Windows, and I make that an appropriate size. Make it kind of look like the example that I've laid out for you. If we double click on the gray part to the right, it will bring up the layer properties, the layer style, and we're going to click Drop Shadow and make sure that we're clicked on Drop Shadow. And we're going to give the text on that layer a drop shadow. And so there, I'm adjusting the opacity. I can adjust the distance. Right here, I'm going to adjust the blending mode. All right. And do the same thing that I did there. This is the color of the drop shadow that we're messing with here. And so when you move that that color slide, you actually have to click on the left and click on a color. So I've done that. I've selected the drop shadow. All right. A little bit of delay there. Now what I would want to do is I want to add that plane. Now, unfortunately, because with this new version, they don't have the objects that we're looking for. So I looked, and I can't find it. So this is just a different one that I've added. Now that I've figured out how to load the old ones, you have to go to Window, and you have to go to Shapes, just like I did. Window, drop-down Shapes. And then we click and we load all the legacy shapes. And here I've now loaded them all, and I'm searching for the plane. And so just watch this, and you can find out where I found it. And it's under Symbols. So Legacy, Symbols, and then you just drag it in. I'm going to adjust it to the shape and the size that I want. All right, and if I get one of the pull handles in the middle on any side and I drag it, I actually do the mirror image of it. And so I want to get it to be the same look as in my example. So here it is. I've hit my Command T and I've gone to the corners. And then I've rotated it so that it's going the same way. I drag it beneath all of the other layers, and you can drag it up or down just to see what the effect does, but it would be nice if it was on the bottom. I adjust it to the right side, hitting Command T and getting the pull handles, getting it to look like the example that was provided. So now I'm happy with that look. I'm happy with the physical location of it. And so like before, we're going to click the layers, and instead of putting a drop shadow, we're going to do something a little bit different with this particular one. We're going to give a stroke, and I think we're going to give it an inner glow. Once I'm happy, I'm going to click that check mark or press Enter. All right, and so now we've clicked on that layer, and we're going to give it a stroke, and we're going to give it some inner glow. And we're going to change the blending mode. All right, so here I'm changing some of the settings at the top. And I'm in a bad habit of clicking enter, and when that does, it gets rid of it. So I double click on that layer again. I make sure that I click on the inner glow, and then I want you to make it look like it does in the example. And feel free, I would like you to play with the different settings for the inner glow and the stroke, and I want you to play around with these different settings, and it changes the way the object appears on that particular layer. All right, so here I'm adjusting the actual size of the inner glow. Then you click OK when you're happy with the way it looks. All right, same thing with stroke. That's the stroke color. So it's black, and I'm adjusting the size, and you can see that stroke means it goes along the line. So like on a letter, it would be on the outside. For this particular thing, it would be right where that selection is. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the text and make it look kind of like the example. So we're going to hit the T on the left side. Then we're going to make a box where we want our text to be. So there's different settings in here, like the size, the color, and the orientation. So you can see at the very top that the default right now for the text is white. You can curve the letters. You can do a lot of different things. You can center them. So there's the size that I'm changing. I'm typing a few letters here. Adding text. Now we're going to add some text. So I make a text box. You can center it like I have at the top there, where you can see the color. I type in the words that I want. I press enter. I double spaced it. I centered it. I hit Command T so that I could then center it on the box, the two boxes that I put in. I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to make a white box this time. And then I'm going to put in a text box, make the lettering white, add a few things. Really, you can put in whatever you want. Once again, at the very top, it's not justified to the left. It's centered. I'm going to type in a few things. Click the check mark to accept it. All right, and I'm happy with that. And now I'm going to save this. So we're going to File, Save As, and the first one I'm going to save as a PSD file. This is a Photoshop file with all its layers. This is not what you're going to hand in to me. You're going to click File, Save As again, and this time you're going to click Photoshop. You're going to go to JPEG, and you're going to save it as a JPEG and click Save. That is the